Okay.
Hi, welcome again to another session from the University of Plymouth, this time on how to use pipettes. Over here on the bench we have arranged all the equipment that you will typically need when employing the use of a pipette. They come in different sizes for different particular purposes. In terms of their sizes, these 5 represent the most common that you are going to find in the laboratory. The smallest of which has a range of 0.2 microliters to 2 microliters. These are obviously for molecular work. The second one, 2 to 20. The third, slightly more still, 200 to 220 to 200 microliters. And then typically the last one, 200 to 1000 microliters. You also get pipettes that will have a volume of between 1 to 5 milliliters. We don't generally use those an awful lot. Usually you will just have the 4 smaller volumes. Now there's definitely a right way and a wrong way to use a pipette. Things you need to know about for them. This bit is the bottom where you are hoovering up the liquid. The counter here represents the volume that you will have and is adjusted by turning the knob at the top. So, twist, change volume. Twist, change volume. Now, what you may find with some pipette manufacturers is that the amount of liquid that can be taken up recorded here on this pipette may be found on the top over here. To hold a pipette, great news. They're both left-handed and right-handed. If you're right-handed, just hook it over your hand thus, and if you're left-handed, the same again. Once you have hooked it over, simply close your hand. Your thumb will rest naturally on the plunger. How you use the pipette depends on what it is that you are actually going to suck up. If it's a typical solution, very aqueous for example, you do what is called just your normal pipetting. There are biting points on this plunger. The first one, when you do it, push to the first stop. You'll feel a little bit of pressure. That is biting point 1. Biting point 2 goes a little more and requires a little extra pressure. Now, you need something on the end of this, because if you try and suck up the fluid with that, you're going to have problems. For that reason, you have an array of different pipette tips that go on each particular pipette. The smallest range of volumes uses typically a clear, very small one. Intermediate range, this yellow one. The larger ranges, blue ones. They're usually stacked into these boxes, such as these ones here that are on display. This will enable you to take your pipette, approach the pipette tip, push it in, firm pressure down, and it will come out, bringing the tip with you. Never ram it in, as that just simply breaks either the tip or the pipette. Good tip for you as well. Haha. Whenever you have a fluid, never ever invert the pipette beyond the horizontal. It'll fill the little filter on the inside there and absolutely ruin whatever it is you're after. So here's one I prepared earlier. A little bit of a volume that we are going to pipette 50 microliters of fluid, 500 microliters of fluid from. So go in vertically, but before you touch the fluid, push to the first pressure point. Enter, gently suck up the fluid, and it will come into that little tube. You can then take that and place it into whatever container you like. And a good tip for this one, have a slight angle when you dispense. Push it through to the first tip and beyond to the second biting point. Holding it down, lift away and release. There is 500 microliters of fluid measured precisely. Now, that means that you have a tip now which is contaminated. Also at the thumb end, you are going to find a little trigger that will eject the pipette tip into a suitable waste container. You simply hover over the top, depress the plunger, and fire it off with a deeply satisfying click. Something you can also bear in mind, if you have a particularly viscous, mucoid, or very bubbly flocculent solution, you can pipette ever so slightly different with a technique called reverse pipetting. And in that situation, you have your pipette, you approach your solution, push all the way through biting point 1 to biting point 2, hoover up your solution, releasing all the way, nice, controlled and measured, and into your selected receptacle, You place your solution and you dispense exclusively to biting point 1. You will have residual waste in your tube's tip. This is absolutely acceptable. The volume dispensed into your container remains 500 microliters in this case, and you can then dispose of your tip in the usual safe manner. So they're very easy to use, a very useful piece of kit, and when you know how to use them, you're going to hoard every one of them that you can find. Thank you very much.